Play. Make sure we're up and running. So this is going to be like very short but powerful. So we're going to talk about what I mean by your nonprofit organization needs to adapt as well, which is very important for nonprofits because we live in a very dynamic society and it's very important for your nonprofit or social impact corporation to also shift with it. And considering I help organization with their strategic plan, it's very important that when I see your organization needs to shift, operational plans and strategic plans need to shift as well. So that's what we're going to talk about, right? In terms of your nonprofit organization, I don't know about you, but I don't know if you noticed, but every administration, right? Every couple of years, the environment that we're living in is shifting, and you can't expect to want to do the same things or do it the same way and expect it to work, right? It's just like me thinking that I'm going to go in the workforce and answer the same questions that I used to on interviews and land a job. That's not going to happen, right? You need to adapt and shift with the current climate and how the communities you're serving are responding to certain cues or certain behaviors or certain actions that are happening. And you need to provide them with tools. If you are an advocacy group or you empower the community, you need to provide them with tools that are current. Because things that worked in 2020, unfortunately, don't work in 2025. Because in 2020, we were in a different environment. Things were, I don't know if you remember 2020, we couldn't go anywhere, right? So I'm going to need you to, we're going to talk about the dirty little secrets of strategic planning. Like it's not all fun and games. Yes, you have one in place, but it's more, a lot of them are outdated because you don't understand the aspect of a strategic plan. It needs to be dynamic. Now, before I keep going, my name is Stacy. I'm a nonprofit consultant. Oh, my phone's always going off. Yes, I'm a nonprofit consultant and I help nonprofit organizations increase their impact and their revenue generation potential through strategic planning and capacity building. And I'm helping mid-sized nonprofits that are making between $1 million and $10 million in annual revenue fill in the gaps that exist to help them increase that impact, right? So talking about strategic plans, let's be honest, a lot of strategic plans are actually outdated before the ink even dries. Okay, so you paid a consultant. Now, the one thing why I say they become outdated because before the ink dries is because when you may be working with a consultant, but one thing you did not consider when working with the consultant is including a section of that or even getting an explanation of how some of these activities or some of these goals need to be updated based on actual events or what's going on, right? Because you worded these goals, but you didn't leave any room for flexibility and adapting, right? So you walk away with a binder full of goals, right? But you didn't consider, okay, maybe 5 years from now, we're not going to be the same organization. So are they worded to account for possible shifts and possible changes? Now, that's why I mean they can be outdated before the ink dries, is that when drafting a strategic plan, I want you, and I even want my clients and tell my clients, I want you to plan for potential eventualities before you finish drafting the strategic plan and operational plan because things change, right? Strategic planning is very important in nonprofits. And you have, like, I want you to sit down and hear me because it's not as traditional as, hey, Ethiopia, it's not as traditional as it was before, right? You need to take the strategic plan and put it in front of you and in front of your team. Use it as a guide, but also recognize that things may change and your team and you as the leader need to adjust with it. And a strategic plan, again, is not a static document. It is a working document. When you receive a strategic plan, it's to ensure that you have the goals, the vision that your nonprofit organization needs to follow but you need to also realize that it is a working and dynamic document that you need to adjust as time goes by. Okay. Now, the nonprofit sector and the world around it is really moving fast. Okay. So that kind of rigidity with strategic plans, you can't do that, right? Because let's talk about the funding landscape is changing. There's political instability and political unsureness because none of us know what's happening. And sometimes we don't even want to know what's happening because there's like so many things happening that we want to make sure our nonprofits are staying in a space where it's able to deal with this type of uncertainty, right? There's economic uncertainty, that's another one. There are shifting community needs. Maybe 10 years ago, there was an issue with affordable food and stuff like that, but now there's an issue with affordable housing. So the number of people that are unhoused is increasing. So community needs are shifting and your approach needs to shift with it because if you were helping someone with something that's not even a basic need for them, right? They're not going to respond well to the services you're providing. So I want you to keep that in mind with the programs and services that you're offering, because if your goal, again, is to empower and serve the community, you have to think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs and really determine, like, okay, is this the best approach for our nonprofit in this community that we're serving? Because if these individuals that we're meeting, right, they're having hard times finding housing, I don't think our conversation about XYZ is going to make a difference. Because if someone is worried about a roof over their head and the focus of your organization is education, I'm sorry to say, like as important as it is, they're not going to hear you in the way you want them to hear you. Because they're going to be worried about where they're going to sleep tonight, and the education aspect is going to go out of the window because that's not their priority right now. So how are you going to make sure that you shift how you show up and how you communicate with your audience to ensure that you're able to deliver the services and programs that your nonprofit has for the community in a way that makes sense, right? There are rapid technological changes as well that I want you to realize. Like, there are so many tools that you can use. And I know sometimes it feels overwhelming, like, oh my gosh, now it's another thing I have to learn, right? I see a lot of people on Facebook groups that are up in arms. Oh, it sounds Chat GPT-ish. Just tell me you don't know how to use it. Okay, you don't know how to use it and you don't know how to use a tool effectively, so you're in your feelings about it. Because with the rapid tech changes, nonprofits have an opportunity to use technology in a way that can fill certain gaps that they have. Now, let's say you have a systems problem, like you don't have onboarding documents, you are missing some information. If you have ChatGPT or any sort of other AI to assist, you can fill in these gaps and ensure you have documentation and also tools and systems. Like it can even help you craft a workflow, right? Let's say that you have a system in place because you can actually have conversations with it now. So rapid tech changes should not hold you back. So let's say you can describe the scenario, whatever you're going through, whatever the organization is going through. Hey, our organization is having a retention problem and we have XYZ programs and XYZ number of staff. Can you help me figure out what gaps I have and what I need? Because then, especially if you're a smaller nonprofit, I tell smaller nonprofits all the time, use tech to your advantage, especially if you cannot yet afford to hire a consultant. Use that as an advantage and start filling in some gaps and figuring out what you need to do. Like, that's why I even have strategy sessions. The strategy sessions for smaller nonprofits, that's not only do we talk about what actions they need to implement within the next few months to get to the next level, but I also give them tools on how to use AI and tech to fill in some gaps that I can't help them fill, right? Because then they need staff to fill that and I can't fill that for them. So I teach them how to use it. Because I like growing the nonprofit organization that I co-founded, AI was a very useful tool from growing it from a 100K organization to almost 500,000. There is a way to build your systems without burning out. So strategy sessions, definitely they're available until the end of July of this year because I am retiring those. So book a strategy session so we can figure out how to get your organization to the next level. Now, the next thing that, I always have a piece of information of data for you. So the Bridge Span group, right? And I shared that in a post on my Facebook group, or not Facebook group, my Facebook page. They said that more than 50% of nonprofits actually do not revisit their strategic plan once it's created. Why? That is one thing and one problem I have. If you took the time to hire someone to help you create a strategic plan, why are you not revisiting it? Because then that, like, having a strategic plan in place is very important to help an organization stay on track and on mission and actually accomplish its goals. Now, the other thing that we do here at Savage Coaching and Consulting, not only do we help you come up with a strategic plan, we also help you come up with an operational plan so you can put all of these goals in action and actually have the capacity to operate in a way that will help you accomplish this strategic plan, right? Now, the other thing that that I found interesting is that 75% of executives say they experience significant changes that disrupts their original roadmap within the first year. Remember, I told you a strategic plan needs to be dynamic, it needs to work and change with your organization. Like that's why it's important because 75% of executives say that changes within the organization, within the community, it's changing and disrupting their original roadmap. So it's in your best interest to understand that when you have a strategic plan, it is a working document. These are our goals because you work with your consultant to put your goals together. Now, let's say by the end of the year, we want to serve 100 more community members with our education programs. And based on the operational plan, this is how you're going to do it. Now, changes happen in the organization, and maybe some things in the operational plan change, but remember, you worked on this with your consultant. So what changed and what do I need to adjust to make sure that we're still meeting our goal? That's why I mean that it needs to be a working document and you need to continue analyzing where you are to ensure that you are growing and using your strategic plan to your advantage, right? Because the plan that you may be clinging to or not even looking at is changing as your organization changes. Because then you may have, again, like I said, 5 people working in the organization in 2020, but then you had your strategic plan in 2020. You didn't anticipate losing 3 of these staff members and having problems hiring. So what are you going to adjust? Now, that's what's important. And also, it's very important, like if you're not sure how to adjust it, can you establish a strategic planning committee within your organization to ensure that you have team members that are keeping track of that? So there are different things that you can do that I encourage, but you need to consider all these things. Now, staff leaving, community needs shifting, we talked about that, but also you need to keep that on the forefront of your mind that these changes occur and your plans need to shift with them. What you're supposed to do, I need you to be a high level thinker and really come to like stop treating your strategic plan like a Bible, but really as a blueprint on how to succeed. Something that needs to be revised and adapted throughout the time that you're using it. If you get to a point where you do not know what to do based on your goals because you're not sure how to address it, that's something you're having problems with, contact the consultant that helped you put together and see if you can get a 1-hour consultation to adjust the specific action plans and stuff like that. So I I want you to like look at your strategic plan if you have one already. If you don't have one yet, definitely check my website. I'm gonna put the link in the comments, but you can also check my bio. It's SAVJ Savage, savjconsulting.com. I made a typo on Facebook, but I'm gonna fix that. So check out my website, check out the services to see how you can contact me about strategic planning services, because that's definitely something that I help organizations with and they need to have on hand. You need the strategic plan and operational plan, and this engagement, I help you with both. We work on the strategic plan and the operational plan to ensure that you have that, right? So I want you to start planning in real time. That's what we do. We work for 6 months and start planning in real time, and then interviewing stakeholders, doing a lot of research because it's very important to understand the climate you're living in, best practices and things like that, and put that together in a plan that works for your organization, right? Now, if that's something that you're interested in learning more about, again, check out the link in the comments if you're on Facebook. If you're not on Facebook, the website is savjconsulting.com. Okay, so with that said, it's time for me to take the littles to school. If you have any questions, definitely let me know in the comments, and hashtag replay if you're watching the replay. I'm looking forward to hearing from you, and we'll go from there. Have an amazing day. Bye, y'all.